Americans are, without a doubt, the most dominant consumers on the planet. The closest competitor, China, spends less than a third of what the US does annually, despite having nearly 5 times the population. By global standards, Americans are incredibly wealthy, and their love for buying, often fueled by debt, drives a consumption-based economy unlike any other in the world. However, this level of consumption has its limits. As a result of this insatiable drive to consume, household savings rates are at historic lows, and high-interest consumer debt has surpassed $1 trillion. This figure excludes car loans, home loans, student debt, medical bills, and buy now, pay later services, all of which are also nearing record highs. So what happens when the world's most avid consumers can no longer afford to spend? More importantly, could simply buying less be the key to solving these economic problems? The growing debt crisis, Americans are taking on more auto loan debt than ever, partially due to the excitement of finally being able to purchase cars again after pandemic-related shortages. Meanwhile, major retailers like Amazon, Target, and Walmart are already offering discounts to consumers struggling to meet the minimum cost of living. In New York City, nearly 80% of households are considered housing burdened, meaning more than 30% of their income goes toward rent. According to the World Bank, America is responsible for approximately 1/3 of all consumer spending worldwide, despite making up only 4% of the global population. Consumer spending now accounts for 69% of the US economy. In comparison, China's consumption accounts for just 38% of its GDP, and the European Union, when counted as a single entity, ties only 51% of its economy to consumer spending. Unlike the US, Europe has been gradually reducing its consumption levels, while America continues to spend more. The birth of consumer culture. The origins of this consumer-driven economy trace back to the post-World War II era. After the war, the US faced a dilemma. The industrial juggernaut that had powered the war effort no longer had a clear purpose. To prevent economic stagnation, the government expanded New Deal policies to encourage consumer spending, ensuring that factories remained operational and workers stayed employed. However, once the market became saturated with goods, companies had to create demand artificially. This led to the rise of modern advertising, heavily influenced by former wartime propagandists. By 1960, America had transformed from a nation of local, necessity-driven shopping into one with over 4,000 shopping centers dedicated to consumer spending. The true cost of consumerism. Beyond the obvious environmental and financial consequences, consumer-driven policies have created 3 major issues. Luxury is cheap, but necessities are expensive. Thanks to globalization and industrial optimization, consumer goods like electronics and appliances have become significantly cheaper. In contrast, essentials like housing and transportation have skyrocketed in price. A modern fridge costs a fraction of what it did in the 1960s adjusted for inflation, yet home ownership is increasingly out of reach for many Americans. Debt fuels the workforce. A study by the National Institute of Health found that workers with high levels of debt were less likely to switch jobs, more likely to work unpaid overtime, and less likely to demand better pay and benefits. Debt has become an economic tool, ensuring a more compliant workforce. Subscription-based living makes financial stability harder. The shift towards subscription-based consumption means that even diligent savers struggle to avoid recurring financial commitments. Whether it's streaming services, car payments, student loans, or software subscriptions, Americans must maintain a steady income just to keep up with automated deductions. Who can actually afford to stop spending? At an individual level, reducing consumption can be a smart financial move. However, at a national level, it presents significant challenges. The top 10% of income earners now drive more economic growth than ever before, as they are the only group with reliable purchasing power for high-margin non-essentials. Yet even high-income earners are increasingly living paycheck to paycheck due to aggressive marketing and consumer culture. Advertising and marketing alone now constitute up to 5% of the US GDP, a reflection of how well companies have mastered the art of keeping people spending. Meanwhile, corporate consolidation means fewer companies control a growing share of the economy, making it even harder to break free from the cycle of consumption. The risk of economic contraction. While reducing unnecessary spending might seem like a logical solution, It's a double-edged sword. America's status as the world's largest consumer market gives it significant leverage in global trade. If consumers suddenly cut back, it could trigger a recession. The American economy has been growing faster than most European and Asian economies, but much of that growth is fueled by increasing consumer debt. If spending slows dramatically, the economy could face serious instability. The future of consumerism. Ultimately, America's consumption habits aren't just about individual choices. They're deeply embedded in the structure of the economy. Until systemic changes address issues like income inequality, housing costs, and corporate consolidation, simply spending less won't be a feasible solution for most people. To learn more about the concentration of corporate power and its impact on consumerism, check out our next video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay informed about how money really works.